A week ago, the most bizarre NBA season in history concluded with the Los Angeles Lakers winning their 17th championship. Due to the pandemic, where almost everyone are locked in their homes, it was expected that the NBA playoffs and finals ratings will exceed last year's ratings. But the sad truth is, this year's finals averaged 7.5 million live viewers, a 51% decline from last year's finals. But even more significant, the NBA's viewership ratings dropped by 45% since 2012. This is a mind-boggling stat. So let's investigate why the ratings were down this year and why since 2012 the NBA's live viewers is getting progressively smaller. Let's start with present time. The competition for views. In present time, this season was postponed due to the global pandemic. After a 5-long-month break, the NBA bubble started. There are two problems here. 5 months is a long time. Casual fans, who mostly are the majority of fans, watch different sports at different times. If many casual fans were interested in the NBA back in March, they've probably lost interest when it came back in July-August. I'll give you an analogy. Imagine you order your favorite meal in your favorite restaurant every time you go there. You know what you're ordering and what you're getting. But suddenly, you order the meal, but there's a missing ingredient. This ingredient is so important, it makes or breaks the meal. When your favorite meal isn't the same as you remember it to be, you lose interest in it. The NBA bubble was bizarre and not the same. Many players opted out, no fans in attendance, and all the games played in the same place. These are the important ingredient that's missing. The meal tastes similar, but it's not the same. The second problem is between other sports. The schedule, the NBA schedule, is made so the NBA is the only major league playing at the time. Now, due to the 5-month break, many NBA playoff games clashed with many NFL games. The NFL, the most profitable sports league in the world, is more popular than the NBA, so it's natural that the NFL will push viewers away from the NBA. Now, why are the ratings progressively dropping since 2012 by 45%? I call it the WBJ effect, the Wade, Bosh, and James effect. In 2010, the Miami Heat formed a super team and gave a blueprint to future teams and superstars on how to get a ring, a championship. The problem is now every superstar today seeks to play with other superstars. To give you a couple examples, Durant to the Warriors, Chris Paul to the Rockets, Kawhi Leonard joining Paul George in Los Angeles, and much more. There's no sense of commitment in the NBA. There's only ring chasing. And due to the blueprint of the 2010 Heat gave us, today in the league there are about 4 or 5 super teams, and all the other teams have no chance to get a ring. I'll give you an example. Who are the favorites to win it all next year? I'd say the Lakers, Clippers, Nets, and Warriors maybe. Why did I say those teams? Because they are super teams. When sports is predictable, it's way less fun to watch. Wasn't it boring when the Cavaliers faced the Warriors for 4 straight years in the finals? It's not like there weren't super teams in the past, but those teams were built through the draft and trades from the ground up. The 80s Celtics dynamic trio of Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish were all drafted by the team. The 90s Bulls drafted Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. The 80s Lakers drafted Magic Johnson and James Worthy, and also traded for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. These super teams weren't a bunch of superstars deciding to join the same team to win a championship. It was commitment and building from the ground up that brought some epic rivalries. Like in the 1960s, the Celtics versus the 76ers, Bill Russell versus Wilt Chamberlain. The 1980s, Celtics versus Lakers, Magic versus Bird. The 1990s versus the Pistons, Jordan versus Thomas. Also Bulls versus Jazz, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan versus Karl Malone and John Stockton. Also in the 2000s, Lakers versus Kings, Kobe and Shaq versus Webber and Bibby. And also in the late 2000s, the Lakers versus the Celtics, Kobe and Pau Gasol versus the Celtics Big Three, Paul Pierce, KG, and Ray Allen. We don't have those type of rivalries in the NBA anymore. It's not that exciting. We don't have that type of excitement in the NBA anymore. Today's superstars are exploiting this flawed system to try and win championships. It's good for the players, but it's very boring and predictable for the fans. Don't get me wrong, this isn't like quote unquote the end of the NBA. The league will be fine. But by this exploit continuing, less and less people will tune in to watch NBA basketball because predictable equals boring.